sees how that applies now. All kinds of ridiculous questions will come at you. You know the one about the rock, right? Can God create a rock that is so big that nothing, no living thing can move it? And immediately your answer is, yes. And then they say, can God move it? And if you say yes, you're in trouble, because that means He cannot create a rock that is so big that no living thing can move it, if He can move it. And if you say no, He can create a rock so big that He can't move, so you're in trouble. So the best answer to it is, I think that's coming up. We'll come back to it. Okay, so the first technique of answering questions, I call it the flip side of the argument. Okay, you give the opposite side and it makes it clear to people. You flip it around and it becomes clear to people why, first of all, why the question is wrong, for example. So you get them to think of the opposite of this argument, and you get them to understand why their question is incorrect to begin with. So, question A, why do Muslims grow their beards? And actually a non-Muslim once asked me this question. He used to work at a company where there were many Muslims. He noticed the Muslims had beards. So he asked me, I want to ask you, why is it that Muslims always grow their beard? And my answer was, I understand why you're asking me that question. Meaning, considering the environment in which we live. I said, but I actually don't grow it. It comes out by itself. True or false? It's not like I wake up and put some manure and go outside in the sun, check, is it growing? Is it growing? It just comes out by itself. So I told him, because what is natural is when a male matures, he develops facial hair. I told him, if you ask a child now to draw the face of a man and the face of a woman, the child will naturally add facial hair to the face of the man. Because when a man develops, he naturally produces facial hair. So what is natural is for your hair to grow out. But what is not natural is to insist every morning on removing every stubble of hair and cutting yourself in the process and putting the cologne and sticking the little tissues, all so you can say, ah, like that guy in the Gillette commercial. Yeah. So when I said this to him, guess what he said? Because I could have told him it's the way of all the prophets of Allah and all the prophets had beards. But you know what? When I said that to him, you know what he said? He said, you know what? I never thought of that. I shouldn't ask you why you grow your beard. You should ask me why. So, what happens here? We're using this technique. You flip the question around and suddenly they understand what's so clear about it. You know, why are Muslim women covered? That's the second one. And this is a true story. There was a sheikh giving a lecture. It was a room where men on the right, women on the left. And then a non-Muslim woman came in very angry, yelling out loud in the middle of this event. She's pointing at the Muslim woman. Why are they covered? And you know what they mean, right? Muslim women are covered, they're oppressed, yeah? Everyone else is covered, it's okay. The nun is covered, it's because she's, keeping herself pure. But the Muslim woman is covered because she's oppressed. So she came in angrily yelling, why are they covered like that? So the speaker said to her, now he's getting to flip it, yeah? The flip side. He said, well, I see that you're covered also, and you're clothed, but you were born naked, why are you covered? So she said, modesty. He said, well, modesty? More modesty. Khalas. Makes sense. If covering is modesty, that means the more you cover, the more modest you are. You know what? You can flip it around more, but I don't recommend you ever use this, yeah? But the argument is that if you're covered, that means you're oppressed. That means the more uncovered you are, the more liberated you are. So you could, essentially, you could tell a woman, well, I see that you are not fully liberated at the moment. Why don't you liberate yourself some more? You're not going to use that, yeah? But that would be the same thing. Well, you're not fully liberated either. No? When you're totally liberated, then come talk to me. We can discuss. So, the Quran is created and not the word of Allah. And this is what those of you who know the biography of Imam Ahmad and the fitna and all that, the mihna. This was the argument of the people who are like the Mu'tazila. They're saying that, and see, look, when you hear their argument, it sounds like they're trying to respect Allah. But when you flip it around, it becomes a problem. And that's how he defeated them in many debates. He flipped it around on them. So they said that Allah is qadim, ancient, that He's been there for a long time. And speech is something renewable. So it's not befitting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being al-qadim, He has a renewable attribute. And people speak. So how can people speak and Allah speaks? And the ayah says in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like Him. So how can people speak and Allah speaks? So they concluded Allah doesn't speak. So He got them at one point, He flipped it on them. You're saying that because people speak, Allah can't speak. So then He said, do you have knowledge? The man was quiet immediately. Because if you have knowledge and Allah has knowledge and nothing is like Allah, that means either you don't, if you have knowledge, Allah doesn't have knowledge. And actually one of them at some point in the debate, he said, yes, at some point Allah didn't have knowledge. So Imam tells him, kafart, you've become a disbeliever. So then the guard, there was a guard, just an ignorant person standing, so he got angry. He says, how could you say that to the messenger of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Because he was sent by the Khalifa. So how could you say that to him, that he is not a Muslim? So Imam Ahmad tells this simple guard, he's saying that Allah had no knowledge until He created His knowledge. And how could Allah create His own knowledge without having any knowledge? And he said, the narrator says, the guard then angrily looked at the other guy. How dare you? So he flipped it around on them. Yeah? So, flipping the argument around. Sometimes people tell you Allah is not on His throne. Even until now, Muslims, they'll be amongst us and they pray with us. They say Allah is not on His throne. Now look how they make it sound respectful. If you say Allah is on His throne, you are physically limiting Allah. You see this word? Makes the Muslim guilty. You are physically limiting Allah if you say He's on His throne. Don't physically limit Allah. Where did you get this term from, physically limiting? But they just make you ashamed. Don't say Allah is on His throne. If you say that, you're physically limiting Him. But what's the flip side of that? The flip side is that He's physically everywhere. And these people until now, they never answer the question, is He in the bathroom? They stay quiet. Is He in the church? They stay quiet. Is He in other places that you wouldn't be caught dead in these places? They're quiet. Is He in the bar? They're quiet. So, if you don't want to say He's on His throne, and by the way, Allah said He's on His throne. 6 times in the Quran. He's on Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa. He's on His throne. So if He's not on His throne, then the flip side of your argument is worse. He's everywhere. And that's why many Muslims historically have gone astray concerning this issue. And even wrote poetry saying, وَمَا الْكَلْبُ وَالْخِنْزِيرُ إِلَّا إِلَهُنَا. And the dog and the pig is nothing but our God. How can a Muslim say that? Could you believe a Muslim would say, the dog and the pig is our God? You wouldn't believe that, right? But they did. Why? Because it started off with this concept. Initially trying to respect Allah, but the flip side of it was worse than what they were trying to avoid in the beginning. Because now, the pig takes up space, the dog takes up space, and if God is in everything, then He's inside, تَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَنْ ذَلِكَ عُلُوًا كَبِيرًا. Allah is far removed from that. Then He's inside this space. And they said even the monk in the monastery is our God. One of them, instead of saying Subhanallah, said Subhani, Subhani. Yeah? Because I'm God, God's in me. That's why a lot of these deviant groups, they respect and they treat people very nicely. Why? Not because of akhlaq, because God is in them. They believe that. They believe Allah is in you, so if I hit you, I'm hitting Him. So I have to be nice to you. That's why they're nice to people. So, they got in more trouble by trying to avoid something simple. The flip side was worse here. Why do bad things happen to good people? That's a question you get many times. From Muslims, from non-Muslims. Mostly from non-Muslims. He said 5 minutes for salah. Naam? 2 minutes for salah. Why do bad things happen to good people? Who can flip that around for us? That will stop for salah. Why do bad things happen to good people? Okay, why do good things happen to bad people? I like that. That's a good flip. There's another one. Because it gets people to think. And you're worried, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people? No, nothing good should happen to them. What's another? You can flip it around by saying, well, how much intervention do you want? And if there's a good person, nothing bad should happen to them at all. They're about to slip, suddenly there's a big feather pillow underneath them. They're falling off a ladder, there's a big pillow, a big mattress under them. Posturepedic even, not just any mattress. Naam? So now you look at it from another angle, from patience, from the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, from the tests in this life and so on and so forth. But you just flip it around. Would you want God to intervene in everything? So if you're a good person, nothing happens to you, never get scratched, never fall, nothing breaks. How much intervention do you want in life? Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue inshallah after salah. Jazakallah khairan. Sallallahu mubarak wa Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.